It appears that the deal for Newcastle United to sign West Ham's Harrison Ashby in January is all but done. No massive surprise to anybody, but it's still, I think, a little bit disappointing. For this one, I do sort of blame the boards and David Moyes equally, obviously the board, for this continued difficulty that they seem to have in tying up those transitional players who have become too good for the youth team and probably should be pushing for an inclusion in the first team, or certainly in the first team squad. When they're in that transitional period, the board seems to have an inability to really assess what they should be paid and what they should be worth. It just appears that almost every other Premier League club pays more than West Ham. So I blame the board for that. But also, David Moyes has got to take his share of the blame here, because I don't believe that he provides a clear route and path through to the first team. And I think that's a problem. Put those two things together, then West Ham cease to be an attractive proposition. The Academy of Football, not at the moment, it appears. And I think as far as Harrison Ashby is concerned, I understand that Eddie Howe has basically offered him the opportunity to be understudy to Kieran Trippier. Well, that's going to be, an attractive proposition, isn't it? That's going to be something that is going to appeal to him. Now, the reason that we know the deal is all but done is, well, because Harrison Ashby shares the same agent as Eddie Howe. Should it happen? No. Does it happen? Yes. Do West Ham do it? Yeah, we sort of do that sort of thing as well. I alluded to it in yesterday's video. We've done it with the Czech players and Thomas Souček. We've absolutely done it with Paqueta, with him talking to Emerson and talking to Maxwell Cornet. And you know what? Live by the sword, die by the sword. If we're happy to play the system, we can't really complain when it happens to us. So Eddie Howe and Harrison Ashby share an agent. So all that stuff can just get thrashed out under the guise of, Eddie Howe's agent is going in to speak with Amanda Staveley or whoever. And actually, they could just say they're discussing Eddie Howe, but really, is the agent going to sit down and discuss Harrison Ashby's contract and terms? Of course. Will the agent then go back and talk to Harrison Ashby? I would imagine so. My thoughts on it, no proof at all. And I guess we have to say allegedly, don't we, in that. But I would suspect that was the case, let's put it that way. And this is really, really interesting because it actually has a knock-on effect and has a domino effect in terms of a sort of right-back merry-go-round, if you want. So, Newcastle were interested in Leeds United's young England under-21 player. I hope I get his surname right. It's Cody Drameh. I think that's his name. He's a Londoner. Comes from Dulwich. Very promising up-and-coming youngster. Now, Newcastle were interested in him. They've since dropped their interest. So we're getting this news about Harrison Ashby from multiple levels. We're getting it from West Ham leaks, Newcastle leaking it. And also, this is almost what rubber stamps it. Leeds United are confirming that Newcastle have dropped out the race for their right back. So, it all adds up, basically, doesn't it? Now, here's the interesting thing. We're interested in this Cody Drameh. Now, that is, the whole thing is preposterous when you think he's a young right back, the same age, more or less, as Harrison Ashby. Surely it would have just been easier to pay Ashby the money that he wanted and give him a path into the first team. But now we're apparently bidding for this player. But that in turn also confirms what we suspect, that David Moyes knows he has problems at right back. The whole thing is a complete mess, really. And the interesting thing is that Leeds want to hang on to him, but they've been told, or whatever, the money men at Leeds have indicated that actually if you want to keep him, if you want to turn down the offer that's expected from West Ham and that was expected from Newcastle, you're going to have to sell Luke Ayling. What also feeds into that is another dynamic, of course, which is Vladimir Coufal, who is apparently of interest to a couple of German clubs, and let's be fair, has stopped being our first choice right back. You could actually make a case that Coufal is now our third choice right back. Not including Ashby, David Moyes has got three people who's playing at right back, which is obviously Vladimir Coufal, Ben Johnson and Thilo Kehrer. And even though he's got three, you get the impression he's not happy with any of them. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's quite It's quite a lot to get your head around, actually. Anyway, if you would like to keep up to date with all the latest West Ham news, all the latest West Ham transfer tittle, tattle and gossip, then look no further than the OneFootball app, which you can download by clicking the link below. Now, the OneFootball app is a generic Premier League football app. In fact, it covers world football. They're covering the World Cup at the moment. However, you can tailor it to your own specifications. So if you don't want to find out what's going on in the World Cup, if you're not particularly interested in what Manchester United are doing or what Liverpool are doing, you only want the West Ham news, then when you sign up for the OneFootball app, you tell it, you say, I support West Ham. And what it does, it goes searching around the internet, searching around the newspapers. It packages up all of the West Ham stories and delivers them to your phone in one bundle, so you don't have to go searching for them. Best of all, the app is free. Use the link below, please. They'll know you've come from Hammers Chat, and it helps us out massively. So I think the Harrison Ashby thing in isolation would be a shame. I think when you put it alongside the Ngakia stuff, it's slightly more annoying. Then when you put in Sonny Perkins, it becomes a slight concern, because we're seeing a trend there. As I always say, once is a shame, twice is a coincidence, three times a trend. We have a trend of losing our youngsters, and I am aware of the counter-argument on this. Somebody will always say, well, name us some players who's left us and gone on to do better things. Who have we let go that's come back and embarrassed us? And I think when you do that, you only really have one example, don't you? And that's if you're assessing it as a superstar player, and that's John Terry. Okay, he's the one superstar player who went from West Ham at the age of 14 and went on and was world class. But it don't have to necessarily be world class. It don't have to be your examples. Kieran Richardson wasn't world class, but I tell you what, he went and had a really, really good career. And, West Ham could have done with him. We still lost him from our academy. It was the same with Liam Ridgewell. It was the same with Junior Stanislas, although he did play a few times for West Ham. Leon Britton was another one. There are actually numerous players who have gone on and played and had good professional careers and played at Premier League level. My own opinion on it is it's probably futile to discuss that sort of thing anyway, because actually there's no point looking backwards. We're going to find out very soon, and I mean within the next 2 years, whether Harrison Ashby is a good player or not. Because if he's as good as, or I suspect he is, because I do think he's a very good player, then he will be in the Newcastle team, not completely ousting Kieran Trippier, but he'll be in the Newcastle team sooner rather than later. And it will be no surprise to me to see highlight reels and see Harrison Ashby on Match of the Day being praised for his crossing. And I will not be surprised at all if we keep seeing him pop up scoring worldies, because he can strike the ball really, really well. I think he's a good player, and I think it'd be nothing more than spin from West Ham to suggest that he's going to be anything other than a good player, because it would just be dressing up bad news as trying to make it good. You know what I mean? And I think there's been failings at the club, and I think there continues to be failings at the club with regards to all of this. But before I go, I just want to make there's been an announcement on another pre-season friendly. I'm pretty sure it's against Udinese, and it's on December the 10th. It's an away game. There are 1,500 tickets available. There's also a match on the 6th of December against Cambridge, away to Cambridge. And then there's another game on the 17th of December away to Fulham. I'll discuss it more at another time. I'm quite pleased we've done this. I have to say, the more I see this, actually, the more confident I am that we'll actually be all right and we'll stay out. I think it's when Moyes is at his best, when he's... Actually, don't get me wrong, I think our pre-season was crap. There's no good whatsoever. But I don't think fitness is massively an issue anymore. I think the players are fit. And I think if what he's got is 2-3 weeks on the training ground with some games to nail down a system, then I think this is going to help massively. Look, Agerd got through to the knockout stages because Morocco did, and which probably doesn't help us massively. But I guess Thilo Kehrer getting knocked out, he wasn't a mainstay of the team, was he? Let's be fair. Germany got knocked out despite them winning 4-2. Kehrer coming back is probably no bad thing. If there's one player that could really do with time on the training ground, learning to defend how David Moyes wants him to defend, then I think it's Thilo Kehrer. There's no point pretending he's not going to play. He is. Now, it might be at centre-back, it might be at right-back, but the more I look at us, I just think we would really benefit from our tactics. I don't like our tactics, But I don't even think, despite our tactics, I don't think we're playing those tactics well. So I think the team will benefit from time on the training ground. I am actually quite positive about it. It has to be said now, which that's changed. I think we needed the break. Time will tell. But going back to what I was saying on the right back. Here's the interesting thing: there are some funds there. If we can strike a deal with Torino to get the Vlasic money early, we might have to. They want to renegotiate. They don't want to pay. It's something close to 13 million. Udinese don't want to pay it. Now, if they do and there's an option, they would have to pay it at the end of the season. I think there might be a deal we're trying to negotiate. Well, do you know what? If you give us 10 now, then you can have the reduction. We won't give it to you at the end of the season. If that happens and we do get rid of Soufal, then there is a little bit of money there to play with. There might be £15 million there to play with. If that's the case, then Moyes does have money for a right back. There's noises coming out from the club basically suggesting that Moyes going to have to do this sort of stuff with loans and that. As far as I understand it, and this is where it becomes really precarious. If Moyes in the next... It's not just Moyes got 3 games to save his job. Moyes got 3 games to get some points. Moyes got 3 games to implement his tactics. Moyes also got 3 games to make it look like those new signings are embedding into the team. If he does that, if we can get winning, if he keeps his job, and it looks like people like Kehrer, Paqueta, Scamacca look like they're starting to adjust and adapt to his system, there'll be a bit of a sigh of relief at boardroom level, and they might just say, do you know what, Moisey, this 15 million, here it is, you can have it for a right back, because they might then trust him a little bit more.